be nice to Bonnie.
You got it.
It's just here.
Good thing you started early.
I know. Okay, so this part, that's all I need here. Just X out of that, it's recording. You got it. And come kids.
You have fun. Where's the pen? Here, where?
Bye. Bye. Right.
It's 7.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. 7 o'clock. All planning board meeting, May 15th, town amended. First on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Everyone had a chance. By your motion?
A motion.
All in favor? All in favor? First on our agenda is the Burrell site plan.
We have a representative for Ferrara.
I'm sorry. Moving right along here.
Yeah. Hello. Glenn Thornton, Thornton Engineering. Yes, the Ferraros asked me, they said, should we come tonight? And I said, well, we really don't have to, because there won't be a decision tonight, as everybody's aware, I think, right? Because of the Historic Preservation Commission involvement in the project. But yes, the Ferraros intend to build a replacement home for a house that burned down, what, 3-4 years ago.
At that exact location?
It's pretty much the exact location, exact same location. They did want a walkout in the back, so it may have been pushed back a little bit further away from the street.
But generally,
Oh, very, very, very close. Yeah, so they want to utilize the existing driveway and the water service and everything. So, yeah, it's a 13.5 acre parcel that is encumbered with a number of, EPODs. We thought we had delineated the EPODs accurately. We actually pulled them from the survey map by a licensed surveyor. We had the EPODs on there, and we checked it versus the town's maps that are available online, and they matched pretty close. But then we found out that the boundary for the EPOD around the cemetery is actually 500 feet from the property line. So obviously, this house, where it's being placed, is within the, what's it called? The Historic Site Protection Overlay District. So we do need to adjust that boundary for that EPOD. I think my question to you folks is, do we need an EPOD permit? Should we be submitting an application for an EPOD permit to build a replacement house within the district boundary? I mean, we can do it because we do have some time here.
I think part of this, to jump in on this, is part of the reason we can't act tonight is because we haven't had the HPC chime in. And they typically take the lead on suggesting whether an EPOD permit should be issued or not. So I think typically we'll get their letter first and then we'll make a decision.
it isn't exactly the same place. The cemetery hasn't moved. Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
I think that helps your case, that if you're kind of trying to rebuild in time at the same location, and there was already something there.
It's pretty much the only, believe it or not, it's a 13.5 acre parcel. But that is the location for the house. If you go beyond it, you know, you've got steep slopes, and it's a flatter area back there where I think they have some outbuildings and some farmland activities, but
And you are 30 to 40 feet higher than all the land around it, except for that plateau.
Right.
There is a well casing up there.
Yes, that's an abandoned well case.
So you're gonna remove that. I didn't see where the water service.
There's an existing water service coming and we do show the connection at the northeast corner of the house. We're showing where we're extending the existing clean water service into the house. I've checked with water authority, told them what we're doing. They said, no, we do not need to review or sign off on the drawings. You've got a service, you've got a meter at the street. And actually, the service is still active. There's a long hydrant up there that the owners use periodically.
You've listed that you're gonna sprinkler the house.
Yeah,
Is there enough volume and pressure at that elevation above the main to
I
carry that?
believe there is. I looked into it. I'm not a sprinkler designer, but I believe there is enough pressure and supply to provide a home sprinkler system, which really don't take a lot of water. Because it's all zoned off, so a few heads might go off at a time, so it's not a big demand. We've supplied them from wells before, with just a small storage tank in the basement, a small pump to supply the sprinklers.
The debris from the existing house, where is that? Was that put into the basement or you have to re-excavate that?
Nobody seems to know. We believe a lot of it probably got pushed into the basement after the house burned down into the foundation. So most of that, if not all of it, will be removed when they build a new house, because there'll be a full basement in there.
So you're gonna need dumpsters there. Once you find it,
If there's something that can't be used for fill, yeah, they'll have to haul it away. I'm hoping and assuming it wouldn't be much though. Be hauled away.
it's not a big deal. Not a big deal.
You know, the existing home that burned was a 2-story or a 1-story?
I thought it was a 1-story. It was, I never saw that. Heard from various people that if it was a 2-story and when they got to it, put out the fire, you wouldn't even know it. It was just engulfed in flames. But I think it was a 1-story. It was a very old wooden structure.
That also helps your case too. I think when you meet with HPC, it's very important to say that you're trying to rebuild in kind in a very similar location.
Good point.
It's not a 2-story, it's not like you're trying to build a 3-story, structure here. You're really trying to just, rebuild what was already there. I think that's important to mention. When you meet with them, they might consider that a
I
positive.
didn't see a review sign out there. Did you, Earl? Is it like a sign? A review sign?
No, I didn't. I did not. I don't know whether you have to address separately the fact that now the building is in front of the house. By putting the house back up, back that time we didn't. Now you have a structure in front of the house.
I knew you'd ask that question. I knew it. I checked with Corey. I says, Corey, the planning board might bring this up because I've been in front of them with trying to put a barn and outbuilding in front of the house. And he says, no, this would be considered, in his opinion, it would be considered a pre-existing structure with the house being rebuilt. But he says, that's really his interpretation. Others, Don might look at it differently, but I just asked him, I said, if we need a variance, let's put in for a variance now, but he.
I want to make sure it's addressed before it gets started, that's all.
Yeah, who would address that?
We address that, right? We address
Okay,
accessory structures in front of
From the house.
yeah,
I don't see it as a problem because it's not new. It's already there and, it's,
Just wanted in the minutes.
yeah, it's good
Oh,
to discuss.
good.
Yeah.
That's good, because, if we did need one, we'd just submit the application. I can not imagine it being denied, but we don't need to, but that's good.
I mean, we could, in our resolution, just make it clear that we're
Yeah.
permitting it, and so there's no question anyways, if the board's inclined to do that.
He's gonna triple the size of that structure.
Which one?
Yeah.
It is not being touched.
I think, you know, it's up to you. I don't know what the HPC is gonna say or how quickly they're gonna say whatever it is they are going to say, but just to note that. You know, it's gonna be roughly the same location, you know, maybe put a brief letter together, it's gonna be the same location relative to the. You know, relative to historic impacts to be in the same location. I don't know what kind of separation there is from the cemetery in terms of screening. Or anything like that, that you just may wanna mention, but.
Would this board have any recommendations for treatment such as screening, or would that come from, HPC?
I don't know that you need it, it's all woods there going up through, it looks to me as though the cemetery is probably over their property to access those properties.
I think you're right.
I don't know what it looks like now in
It
terms
looks like it just comes to a corner there,
There's a pull off the driveway. of the
Yeah.
Cemetery, yeah.
Hmm.
That parcel? No, I don't think it is. It is a frontage on, Bushman Road.
Talking cemetery. Yeah, I think it looks like there's a little access point off the back.
which one is it? And there's a bunch of parcels here.
You don't really see.
this is it right here.
Oh, okay.
And here-
Desmond Cemetery,
here's the property line, right here, that's the property line, it's no problem, all the way over to here. There's a cemetery and there's a cemetery boundary line with the right of way.
and this is the driveway coming through here,
Mhm.
that's. I'm assuming that's been there for a while.
Yes, and it's kind of on a ridge through
Yes.
there. Yeah. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for that.
Yeah, I think the. 20 minimum side setback. Is this entire driveway there on your property? It looks like maybe it does come a little bit onto the cemetery property.
According to the survey that was done, it does nip the cemetery property.
Is there like an easement or something or some sort of
Not
agreement?
that I'm aware of.
You think there should be?
You're not, are you,
Those sleeping dogs lie.
that's all this too, though, right? You're not changing that.
We're not, we don't want to touch any part
So
of it.
that's all existing also.
Yeah, Corey had a comment about fire access. We said, there's two pull-off areas, one along the cemetery, the other one at the outbuilding there, so.
That's the existing garage.
Yes,
think-
yeah, he was fine with it. He knows the house is going to be sprinklered, not that it's required, but the owners want it sprinkled.
Has this been open to the public? Is there any of these neighbors have issues or not yet?
If they travel over the Ferrero property, it's open to the public.
Oh, no, I mean,
Over
the,
their property?
Right
I
on-
guess I'm just thinking like Sean Donahoe and the Olins and like, does anyone have?
oh, you mean if neighbor letter? went
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
I thought I saw that we were about leaving. I'll be a question for Katrina, if the neighbor letters went out.
Is this cemetery, do we know if it's a public or private or what the deal is with it?
Do we know, does our, does the EPAD specifically say from the property line, that's where the 500-foot buffer begins, or is it the center of the property and then radiating out?
I don't think it's crystal clear on,
Yeah, it's kind of open
you
ended.
know,
Because the graphics look like it's from the center of the property and it radiates out 500 feet in that, which is, I think, what you were laying out here.
That's what we want, but the Environmental Conservation Board noted correctly that the EPOD map was drawn incorrectly with the center being on, not even on the cemetery parcel, it's on the parcel to the south.
Okay.
Where it was centered. You can kind of see that with the arc here, the center of the circle would be down here, not up here in the cemetery.
Yeah, the code kind of reads, I don't want to say open ended, but it reads a little bit, it's just in the sense of. The It's usually like for a building, it would be centered on the building, but for this one, I guess, in my opinion, the cemetery, there's lots or parts.
Yeah.
Right along, they can be close to the property line, so that's, I think where we got to the property line. Again, it's still, it can be interpreted that way.
How close is it? To 500 feet? Is it 490 feet or 300 feet or?
Well, just looking at the plan here, it looks like the houses would be completely within the 500 foot area.
Yeah, it looks like it's about 300 from the property.
Yeah, that looks about right. The house is probably 300 feet.
Yeah.
Is there, if you were to move it, or not, if you were to move it to the west, is that possible, or it's just too difficult, too many, the grading is, yeah. So I think there's stuff, and I think that's another thing to mention when you present to the HPC, that this is probably the most ideal location on the site for, and mentioning that there's existing utilities that you're trying to use, the alliance.
Electric, water.
Is this driveway existing? Has it been changed at all? Is it paved?
No,
No, it's just dirt.
it's
Stone driveway.
stone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically I would, when we do a site plan review, you make sure ingress and egress is proper, and right now you show it going over a different property line, so
Yeah.
typically the board would make sure that's properly done, either moved or there's some sort of agreement or something in place that addresses that. That's part of, would typically be part of site plan review.
Even if it's an existing condition? That they're not changing at all?
If they,
Um,
while they're there.
Say again?
Do it like while they're there during construction, almost just carve out just a 12-foot offset, they might not necessarily have to utilize it, but just give excess of 12 feet from that property corner out, just so there is 12 foot of driveway access. Will they use it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is this board, would you want to be approving a driveway that's not entirely on this property without them showing you that they have the authority to do that? That's
The driveway over, that's all on your map.
I've got to go and look at it and see if, what,
Yeah,
they said,
I know.
we can tweak it. I'll move it on the maps. We're not encroaching into the cemetery property. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure if access to the cemetery might be off that. driveway. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah, I didn't see any entrance.
No, I didn't either.
251.
I've never seen anybody drive into the cemetery, but
Hmm.
I think they utilize the driveway, and I'm not aware of any easement granted to the cemetery.
That's sort of a separate issue, right? 'Cause we-
Yeah, I just bring that up, not that we're going to
Right.
address that.
But if you draw the driveway so that it doesn't encroach, and maybe, whatever is there, but if you show your plan, with our plan that's approved, show the driveway that's proper.
Is it a blacktop driveway in its entirety?
It's not blacktop at all.
So it's really not that big of a deal. They
Very
swing out a little bit.
It's very big.
Go around it, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's a pin there on the corner of that cemetery property or not. It should be pretty obvious where the cemetery.
Yeah.
is. Probably a fence or something.
So I'd suggest cleaning that up before you get back here in June.
Okay.
And it's not a problem that the water line goes across cemetery property?
Does it? I don't
No,
see where.
it doesn't. The water line kind of follows what would be the west side. Actually, it's, the meter is on the west side of the driveway near the street. I think it generally follows the west side of the driveway, so it doesn't encroach into the cemetery.
Yeah, I see that. I'll make a note in the proposed resolution about if the board's wishes to acknowledge that there's an existing accessory building and the board doesn't have any objection to it. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
That way it's on the record.
I think the HPC meeting HPC is on the 5th of June. Hopefully we'll be back in front of you on the
It's gonna, their meeting's moved. I believe it's June 12th.
12th. Now, will they make the determination about the EPOD permit? I just want to make sure we get the paperwork into this board in time, because I know this board grants the EPOD permit.
They'll make a recommendation,
All right.
but we will consider and typically, when we have a site plan with an EPOD like this, we would deal directly with the EPOD permitting in our resolution.
Okay.
So any appeal you want to make to relative to historic EPOD permitting. I mean, I think you're in it.
I
You're-
just want to
you're in
make
the
sure I
EPOD.
get the paperwork.
Yeah,
in.
I don't know what kind of additional paperwork there necessarily is. Typically,
Is there,
when,
remember this town, other towns have a form, but
yeah, I don't know for sure. I don't know that I've seen before our board an EPOD application separate from a site plan application. I think in cases where it doesn't come before the board, you make a separate EPOD application.
okay.
I would just check and make sure with the planning office about that. So I think what I would suggest at a minimum, first check with the office and make sure there isn't something extra, but just, write a letter to state your case as to why you believe it should be permitted in the area. And I think, again, you're rebuilding something that was already there, so I think that's kind of the biggest point you could probably make. The EPOD chapter, I think you will probably need a permit because basically it says if you're within the area and you're building something, you need a permit. This board has the authority to issue permits and has issued permits. We just did one a few months ago for a property that was in 500 feet of a historic house. They wrote us a letter and attached some materials for us. It was obviously a different situation. We granted the permit.
Just to clarify, just so I understand completely, it has to go to the other board, but they're advisory
They
to
make,
this board, so
they make a
they
recommendation
make a
to us.
recommendation, we can say great or no, thank you. And vote anyway, is that correct?
Right, we take their recommendation in consideration, but ultimately we get to make the decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the HPC has to issue a certificate of appropriateness?
No, they just need to make they need to advise on the ability for you to construct something within 500 feet of historic property.
Okay. The advisory then to this board.
That's right. Yeah. Then this board will look at their opinion and make a determination on the issuance of the permit.
When do you anticipate construction?
This has been dragging on. They were very careful about the house design. I know Rodney had worked on that long and hard, so. McKinnon's going to build there, John, and he's anxious to get going, but. The boroughs are being deliberate, so I think later this year, maybe, I'm thinking. Late summer, fall, they would like to get going. It's, when I told them that we're not gonna get approval tonight, we have to go to spring. Didn't even phase them, so it's not. It's got plenty of other things to do with this, but they would like to get underway this year now.
If you check out one amending code, check out 138-30, and it lists the standards that are to be considered when we determine whether to issue an EPOD permit. One of them is there's no alternative to what's being proposed, which I think we basically said there's nowhere else to build this house on the site.
Any other questions? Good. I think you're good.
Yeah, I would suggest this sort of, briefly document your position on the historic EPOD. Get it in time for the HPC to see it, get it into the town. and fix the driveway or investigate it. Maybe there's an issue there. We'll notate the accessory structure in our resolution and we'll be able to historic VPOD on that. After we get to see what the HPC has to say.
All right, I submitted the elevations of the house. I think Brian and Rachel are prepared to bring in more information on the color, the type of siding, what thing at the meeting. But I think it's gonna be pretty standard and probably being within the econ, it's important to that it not be orange or something like that. Okay, go down to see Katrina's son play the saxophone, I guess. I thank you. Hopefully you got more on your agenda. No.
Is it?
Oh, come on. I told Katrina, says Katrina, this is the only thing on the agenda. I don't have to come in tonight. I did-
Well, I think you got some useful.
Oh, I know. I
Takes the
did,
next meeting
but
this year.
I
It'll
didn't
be all
want to
right.
call a meeting just for this.
You're a special guy, Glenn.
I'm very special. Thank you. See you.
Public, do we have any comment? That's the general discussion. So what's for a motion?
Oh,
I'll second it.
A motion to adjourn, seconded? All in favor?
See you in June.
Didn't beat you though.
So it's official, we're June 26th. Unfortunately, I will not be here. So we have a quorum to vote for everybody.
Hope so. I don't know. I believe Lauren's not going to be here, right? Is everyone else?
There was a quorum at last meeting,
Yeah.
Teresa, Charlie, Earl.
So everyone else will be here and I'll be here too. Not that I'm a voting member, but
Right, you just need three.
so the next meeting is June 26th then.
Yeah,
that's what I
special
hear.
meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'd be dead and buried by that time.
Get out of here.
Done.
Bonnie, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Look at this, you too, and you chair,
Earl too.
Go get used to it.
your assistant, we're good to go here. I'm glad it didn't seem to mess up their timing. That's nice.
Yeah,
Nice to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
they're being very reasonable.
Yeah,
so-
that's really nice when that happens.
Would they have, if they were denied, would they have, they can do with that point?
We're not on the record anymore, right?
Right,
Yeah, I think if this application were denied,